Welcome. Welcome to Get Known Be Seen WebTV. I'm Trish Springsteen, your host, and it's my absolute delight to bring to you today James McNeil. Now, James McNeil is a really exciting person that we're going to be talking with because he has a book coming out very soon, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go along. But just a little bit about introducing James. James is a US Army veteran and author, and he's made its lifestyle out of overcoming obstacles, and he can help you do the same, which I think is absolutely awesome. I'm really looking forward to a chat with James around this. These obstacles can be in your business or personal life. He's a two-time suicide survivor and a combat veteran. So James has been through a lot in his life, and I'm pretty sure that's what he's going to bring out in his book, and I'm sure we're going to learn from some of the things that lessons that he's brought and the lives that he has. So he has those lessons and lives to help you overcome what seems to be too much. And I'm looking forward to having a great conversation, James, around this. So welcome, James. Delighted to have you here with us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
And James is coming to us from North Carolina in the United States of America. It's a beautiful place. He was just telling me that he's only 5 miles, which would be, I don't know how much in kilometres, but very short for those in Australia, from the ocean. So a beautiful place to live. So James, tell us a little bit about your book. I know you're excited. It's being launched very soon. Just want to tell us a little bit what it's called, a little bit about it, and your journey where you've come to.
The book is called Finding Your Personal Mission. The book, as you said, it chronicles my journey as a suicide survivor. And it started, or the concept for it started in 2017. I won't go into the details, but I came very close to trying a third time. And I reached out to a friend who helped me. He gave me something to read, and he gave me a mantra that I have been using ever since. In fact, it has become something that I've even made a clothing line out of, and it's, your story is not over yet. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing right now, your story is not over yet.
Awesome.
The idea behind the book was, as I overcame the concept of suicide and suicidal thoughts and ideations, I realized different obstacles that I had to overcome. One of those was Impostor Syndrome. Not very long ago, I had an interview where I said that Impostor Syndrome almost literally killed me because you don't think you should reach out. You don't think you can reach out for help because people will think you're weak, or you will be too weak, or whatever the case may be. Other obstacles include anger issues. I wouldn't believe I had anger issues, but I did. Attitude problems. How do you plan to overcome these obstacles? What's stopping you from overcoming these obstacles, such as the fear of failure? How do you handle it when you do fail? Because you're going to. Things like that went into the book. Excuse me.
Awesome. And so that was 2017 that you sort of started thinking about writing it? So you've been writing it over the last 3 years. What have been some of the challenges with you in getting that book written?
Well, one of them is, it's an interesting challenge, and that was in 2018, I went back to college. I am at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. I'm graduating, or I'm earning my degree in May. As a matter of fact, by the time this airs, I will have earned my degree. And keeping up with my school as a full-time college student has definitely gotten in the way of writing anything.
Awesome.
Another is, well, back to the imposter syndrome. The belief that you're just not good enough. Well, maybe I shouldn't write this because am I really the one that people need to lean on? Am I really the one that people need to listen to? And another dear friend of mine said, "You have a story to tell. I want you to write that book."
Mm.
I said, what if I'm not really the right person to write this book? He said, "You write that book, and I'll be the first person online to buy that book."
Awesome. Awesome.
And that was a big confidence booster for me.
Awesome. So one of the things I was getting from there that you found that helped you, because a lot of my viewers watching are people who are authors who have just written a book, or they're in the process of writing a book. And one of the things I found very interesting in what you said, which helped you to get started, was finding some group of people or person that believed in you. Would you
Most
say?
definitely. Most definitely. As far as anyone that's watching that does not have that option, you're wanting to write a book, but you don't know who to turn to, take this and write it down and tape it above your computer screen. Just write. Don't worry about it making sense. You're not writing Hamlet on your first try. Just write. You can edit it later. But get your thoughts to your computer or to your paper or however you're writing, but just get it down. That's the obstacle that you overcome. Once you get started doing that, once that little bit is done, then you'll find it easier to keep it going than it will be to get it started. Just like overcoming these suicidal thoughts, I couldn't do it. I couldn't get started on my own, but once I got started, it was a lot easier to keep that momentum going and keep those obstacles being overcome.
Brilliant. And I think that is a brilliant tip for people, because that is one of the things that stops you. We procrastinate a lot, and we think, as you said, that imposter syndrome stops people from writing, and then, I've got to be perfect. I can't write it and that. So what sort of systems did you put into place to keep you going? Did you write a certain amount each day, or what was it?
I would focus on one obstacle until I was satisfied that I had covered that topic. I have a friend here in this area who's a pastor, and he said, "How long does a string need to be?" And he asked me that question. I said, "What are you talking about? How long does a string need to be?" He said, "Just long enough to wrap up the package." How long does the topic need to be? Just long enough to cover the topic. So I would stay on the topic until I had covered it. And I would go after it like a dog after a bone until I had gotten everything I could get from that one topic. So the focus on that topic was what kept me driving forward. Have I covered this?
Awesome. Awesome. And are you publishing with a publisher, self-publishing? Where's that going with you?
I'm using Kindle Direct Publishing, which goes to Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So it's self-publishing.
Awesome. So that's going to be a Kindle book. You're going to be bringing it out in print as well, or just going with the digital book?
Both.
Both?
I'm doing both, yes.
Awesome.
I have a few friends that have said they really would like to get a copy autographed by the author. So I'm definitely going to be making that an option.
Okay. So one of the things that we face and a lot of authors face once they get their book done and they've got it up there is how to get that book out to people, how to let people know, make it easy for prospective readers to find you. So James, what have you been doing at the moment to get that book out there? What are your plans?
Currently, I have a Facebook page for the book. It is called Finding Your Personal Mission, just like the book is called. And Monday through Friday, every day, I'm posting something about the upcoming launch, what it's like to write the book, who the book is for. And while I'm a veteran, and most of my book will appeal to veterans because it talks about the basic training, what I learned in basic training, things I learned in combat, and so most of it will appeal, but it goes to anyone who has either considered suicide, who knows someone who's considered suicide or tried it. So um, basically defining that market as far as who could benefit from the book, and just putting information out every day about what it's all about, what it was like. Once a week, I'll put an excerpt from each chapter into there, and then I just push it out every day to that page and to my personal timeline.
Awesome. I've dropped by your Facebook page there, and it is a great page. And I think one of the tips that I really love, and I want to share with my viewers that you've been doing, and I really thought was extremely well done, was that you've shared little bits of chapter from something, a highlight, a tip, and then you've referenced it back to a chapter in your book. And I think that was a really great way of getting people interested in your book. So you've been planning to do more of those?
Each chapter has a theme, and like you said, I'm talking at the start of each week. I talk about that theme, and then I build up to where I'm going to put an excerpt from each chapter in, and then on Friday I wrap it up with a call to action. Of, would you like to be one of the first ones to know when pre-orders are live? Would you like to know? Would you like to be able to help spread the word about the book? I've got a Facebook launch team, which is a group where we meet every day, and I give them something and people put out the word, and then I also post it to, like I said, to the group, to the page and to my timeline.
And then one of the other things that you should be doing is exactly what you're doing now, is getting on and having interviews with podcasts, people with videos. How are you finding that? Have you been able to find many? What sort of ways have you been looking at to get that avenue out?
Oddly enough, this is my third that I've had. The first two were literally gifted to me. The head of the Office of Military Affairs gave me an option to be interviewed with our local Fox affiliate, Fox News affiliate, which was great. The gentleman who interviewed me was an incredible newscaster interviewer. And then I've had one podcast interview, and then I'm now talking with you. So we're just getting started into it. We're getting closer and closer to the time of the interview, and to the time of the interview. Listen to me. It's 9 o'clock at night. Can you tell I'm tired? But we're getting closer and closer to the time of the book launch, and we're getting these interviews going pretty well. So. And
what date is that book launch proposed for?
Book launch is on May 20th.
Awesome. Is there a significant date around that, or that you looked at for launching then, or is that just worked out in your timeline?
A little bit of both. May 20th is the day after my parents' anniversary.
Oh, great. And
it's kind of a nod to them with as much as they've supported me. My parents have been married, this year makes 52 years. And they have been a huge support to not only to me earning the degree, but also to me getting the book written and getting it published.
Oh, brilliant! I'm looking forward.
And then also it kind of worked out with the chapters and getting one chapter a week out to people.
Awesome. That works out very well. You've got a really good plan there, and I think that's something my viewers can take away to model what you've been doing, because I think I've found that is a very great process for launching your book and for getting out there and getting known and being seen. Look, how do you propose to leverage through it? Where are you going to go with this book? What's your objective on the outcome of it?
My objective is to reach not only veterans, like I said, that's my primary audience, but I'd like to reach out to schools, colleges and universities here in the United States and abroad to help people to understand that this is something you can overcome, but not just for yourself. Far too many times we tell people, hey, if you need help, just reach out to me. People aren't going to do that. We need to empower the friends and family to go to the person who's struggling and say, let me help you. Mm-hmm. Not, hey, reach out to me if you've got a problem. Actively come and say, let me help you. So that's part of the goal, is to empower not only people struggling, but to also their friends and family to reduce this tendency to eliminate suicide from our culture.
Awesome. It's a very great objective and one that I'm fully behind in that respect. So what else would you like to do? After the book is being launched, are you going to look at doing workshops? Where are you looking at taking that? What do you want to do?
I'd like to do workshops, yes. Mm-hmm. I'm putting together some things to have a workshop for Imposter Syndrome, which is the biggest problem. Imposter Syndrome actually has 2 chapters in the book because it's such a big issue. Then also the fear of success. The fear of failure is one thing. The fear of success is another.
Oh, that's a biggie.
The other issues, the obstacles, have a workshop for those obstacles and how we can overcome them. But in particular, like I said, imposter syndrome is the big one. How can we overcome it?
Well, just share a little bit about your thoughts behind the we've touched a little bit on it, but a little bit more about that imposter syndrome. Maybe one of the tips that out of the book, maybe that people can take away to really smash through that.
One of the tips that, as far as you said, why it's such a problem, it's such a problem because it immobilizes people. Mm-hmm. If you feel like you're an imposter, then you're going to, or if you feel like people will see you as an imposter, which is the big thing, then you're going to be immobilized. You're not going to reach out for help, even for something small, like I lost my job today, which isn't small by any stretch of the imagination, but it leads up to something a lot bigger, which is suicide. The smaller stresses build up, and I compare it to being buried under a mountain of pebbles. Mm-hmm. Each one pebble by itself does nothing. But when you're covered by a mountain of pebbles, a mountain of small stresses, it can be overwhelming. And for someone who tries to see themselves as, well, I'm strong, I'm the strong one, I'm the one people lean on. If you start to think about asking for help, you're going to think that people will see you as a fraud. Mm-hmm. So how do you stop that? Well, one way is by reminding yourself of the things you've done right. You don't get them all right, but you don't mess everything up either. Yeah. Remind yourself, that time I did that thing that was right. That time I nailed it. I did it was great. Whatever it happens to be, you're probably thinking of something right now. Yeah, I did that and it was right. Remind yourself of the times you got it right. You're not a fraud. Remind yourself of the times that you were human and messed up. You're not a fraud. You're human. Number one, you get some of them right. Number two, you mess up. And number three, which is the bigger one, you're human. You are going to need help. You're not an island. You don't live on an island by yourself. You need help. So all of those together add up to the imposter syndrome, or one aspect of the imposter syndrome. You're not a fraud.
Awesome. I love that. I think that's pretty great. And so people, the viewers, that's just a little tip out of James's book. Then imagine what else is in that book. It's one that you really need to be keeping an eye out. And it was, again, when is it coming out, James?
It's coming out May 20th.
May 20th, people. Keep an eye on. He's got that Facebook group, and it is the same name as the book. It's Finding Your Personal Mission. I would suggest go over there, like that page, keep aware of it so that when it comes out, you can hop on and get it. Because as I said, that information alone on the imposter syndrome is valuable information for everybody. In any situation, it can be used in that particular situation. So where did you get the name from for the book? How did that come to you? Because I know book titles are really hard to get sometimes.
Yes, I cannot take any of the credit for that one. That one came from Sean Douglas. Sean runs a business that is called The Success Core. He is a TEDx speaker. He is a best-selling author. And he is also a dear friend and a mentor for me. And he and I were talking about what the book does, what it's supposed to be about. And he said, this is a good idea for a title. And I just ran with it. So the title of Finding Your Personal Mission is literally all him. That credit goes to him for that one.
It's a great title because it really does speak with what you've shared about what's in the book. It speaks to your audience, your target audience too, because it's using terms that they can relate to, but it's using terms that they can relate to, but also that other people can relate to. So it's a great title for your book. But
thank you.
What would be your biggest lesson and insight that you could share with people that you've come from your journey?
Could you ask that question again? I'm sorry.
What would be your biggest lesson and insight, biggest lesson or your biggest insight that you've had in your journey in your life now and your journey in your book as an author, soon-to-be author? What would be the biggest lesson, biggest insight that you can take away? And you've probably touched a little bit on it, but
the biggest insight that people can take away from this, biggest insight I took away from this is that you can't do this by yourself. In basic training, from the first day, the drill sergeants were telling us, always have a battle buddy with you. It's battle buddy everything. If they saw a trainee that was by himself, the first question was, where's your battle buddy? Where is your battle buddy? You're in trouble because you don't have a battle buddy. And one day the drill sergeants explained to us the reason they were so hard on us for having a battle buddy is because when we get into a combat situation and you don't have somebody with you, you're not going to survive because the stress is just too much. And then, so we go through basic training when you have a battle buddy. We go through advanced training, we have a battle buddy. We go through the military life, we have battle buddies everywhere, and then we leave the military and we stop. Why? Why do we stop depending on each other? Because we've got it in our head, you've got to do this by yourself. And I'm here to tell you there's nothing further from the truth than the notion that you have to do this, or even that you can do this by yourself. You have to do this with a partner. And I'm not necessarily talking about a life partner, a best friend, a brother, a sister, somebody you can lean on, and they can lean on you. And that is what you need. In 2003, early 2003, we were getting ready to deploy. And the brigade commander, who was a colonel, had us all in this huge formation. And he said, I want you to look to your left. So we all looked to our left. I want you to look to your right. So we all looked to our right. He said, the person you see to your left and the person you see to your right, you're responsible for them coming home. And they're responsible for you coming home. And this was so important to us when we were in the military. But when we got out, all of a sudden we just forgot it. So the long-winded answer, obviously, is that the biggest insight that I can give you is you can't do this by yourself. Stop trying to do this by yourself.
I love that. I love that. And it is so true. It comes up in, when I do a lot of mentoring and I talk about accountability buddies. Very similar sort of thing. And it is interesting from what you say, because do you think that this happens a lot with veterans, that they have this mindset and then they come out into society where that mindset isn't exactly known very well, isn't pushed very well, isn't accepted very well? And you think this is some of the issues that they have, going from that to that?
Most definitely. Most definitely. When I got discharged in 2005, I was, my first instinct was to rebel against everything I'd learned in the military. Never would have taken it for a rebellious type, but I am. So my first instinct was to push back against everything I'd learned. And one of those things that I learned was the battle buddy system. And it took me a long time and a couple of suicide attempts to realize this was too big for one person to handle by himself. Maybe those drill sergeants were right. Maybe they had a point.
I think that's in your book as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Awesome. Love to see that in there.
The leaning on each other, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that is now that because we're living in interesting times at the moment. That's an interesting facet that may be of impact. I don't know if you've thought much about that. So whether how that affects this isolation that we've got going on, the interesting times we've got going on. Again, something that affects that because it's really pushing into all of what you've been talking about.
Here in the U.S. we call it social distancing because they have to make it sound pretty. But the isolation, it makes it a challenge, but it's not impossible. Every day, I have a roommate. He is a Marine veteran, and we encourage each other. Excuse me, but we also get on each other's nerves. So he reaches out to his family, I reach out to my family, and I've got friends in the area. And I literally have friends all over the country that will do instant messenger through Facebook, we'll do phone calls, texts, but there isn't a day that goes by that I don't reach out to somebody. Just, hey, how you doing? How are things going? How can I help you? And then I have people do the same for me. So just because we can't be there face to face, it just requires a little bit more effort to reach out and say, what can I do to help?
And if you've already got a battle buddy or accountability buddy, it makes it easier for you to take that and still continue that relationship. So that's something that if you've got that in place, you're really set up to be coming out of the other end a little bit better than what you might do if you haven't thought about that.
Exactly. I am a huge fan and a student of John Maxwell. John Maxwell is a leadership guru. He is a genius when it comes to leadership. And one of the things he says is that once you have momentum on your side, it's easier to keep things going once you have momentum than it is to get them started. So if someone's listening and they're saying, you know, that sounds great, but I feel so uncomfortable around other people. You're not going to feel uncomfortable for long. It's going to suck. Trust me, I know. It's going to be horrible reaching out to people for the first time with that imposter syndrome on your back, thinking they're going to think I'm a fraud. But when you reach out and you realize they're going through the same problems, they're going through the same imposter syndrome, they're having the same issues, and you can support each other. Once you get started, it's so much easier to keep it going than it was to get it started.
Awesome, Jess. Look, thank you. We could speak for a lot more. I think there's so many gems that you are sharing with people that will help them not only now but in the future. And I know those gems are also in your book. So let's just go one more time. The title of your book?
The title of the book is Finding Your Personal Mission. It launches on May 20th, and it will be available through Amazon and Kindle Direct Publishing.
Awesome. And find James, connect with James on Facebook. His page is the same, Find Your Personal Mission. If you put that in there, James McNeil. Keep up to date and do go and get your copy when that comes out, because from listening to what James has had to share with us, I think it's a book that we could all find value from. Thank you so much, James, for being with us today.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. You've been watching Get Known Be Seen WebTV. I'm Trish Springsteen, your host, and stay tuned for more episodes in the series. If you've been watching this particular one, do make sure you subscribe to the Get Known Be Seen WebTV channel, because that way you will also be updated when new episodes and shows are posted. Until next time, be awesome and take care.